Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
Little Saturday check down action here. Just popping in to say hello.
Hello.
And before we get into this Justin Jefferson legacy question, a couple of them actually, it's a little bit of leftover feedback Friday. MSP Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning, helping out with your HVAC systems this summer, Judd.
Yes, they are, because it is going to get hot and sticky again. And are you prepared for a new ACC system? Because MSP is making the upgrade even better in the month of June. So act now, install new equipment, and get a free Pristine air cleaner, a major boost in comfort and air quality for your home. Also, MSP partnering with the Open Door, a hunger relief organization providing food to more than 20,000 people a month. MSP will be collecting brown paper bags during their HVAC and plumbing calls. Call them 651-615-4292 or check out their website, callmsp.com. Call MSP.com and make sure that your AC system is working when you need it most in the coming months.
It's also fireworks season.
Yeah.
Fireworks Forever is here to help you over the next few days, Dex.
That's right. Yeah, you can go check out their 2 locations in St. Croix and Somerset, Wisconsin. You can go check those 2 out, and they have a great knowledgeable staff that's there. Go to fireworksforever.com to check out all their coupons. Somerset and St. Croix Falls, 2 locations. Pyrotechnics on staff. They want to make that 4th of July work for you. Go to fireworksforever.com to learn more.
So a couple Jefferson things here. These are fun questions. Ryan B. chimes in, says, in the long term of things as Vikings fans, Randy Moss or Justin Jefferson is his question. Moss was generational and game-changing for the league. JJ is everywhere, on the line, slot, outside, fantastic at every single phase of the field. He's also not going to get traded to the Raiders, be a locker room problem, get into trouble, etc. JJ is the complete opposite. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's a stand-up dude. He wants to help his rookie quarterback, breaking records every year. But as a Vikings fan, I'm wondering who you would. It's going to be hard for him to eclipse Moss in a league sense in terms of like his impact on the league. So that's the first part of it. And then Christian comes in and says, longtime Purple Daily listener here, in the midst of an exciting offseason, I've been thinking a lot about the absolutely stellar wide receiver play we get with Justin Jefferson. I truly believe he'll go down as one of the best of all time. And one of the things I've been thinking about is whether JJ can overtake Jerry Rice on the all-time receiving yards record. It's largely regarded as unbreakable, but I think if there was ever a player to do it, it would be JJ for several reasons. Number one, he's outpaced every wide receiver ever in yards per year. There's a 17th game now, and maybe an 18th game by the time his career is over. KOC runs a high-volume passing offense. He might have his Joe Montana if J.J. McCarthy pans out.
Yep.
His game is based more on finesse than physical assets, which makes me believe he will age better and play longer. Mm-hmm. And if he's anywhere close to the record, he has the drive to play until he breaks it. So a lot to unpack in the Justin Jefferson legacy department, but
great stuff.
What do you think of some of this stuff here?
So let's start with the first one, because Moss had a bigger impact in part because of his timing. Moss came into the league when, I'm not saying passing was not popular in 1998, but it certainly was not what it became. And so Moss had the advantage of actually, in my opinion, changing some of the rules and how the sport was played. Jefferson could have done the same, but he came into the league when it was already far more of a passing league. However, if you're going to ask me just to take a step back, because what Moss did was incredible. But if I'm going to take a step back and say, which one would I take? I would take Jefferson. And here's why. Justin Jefferson, and this was pointed out in the note, and it's exactly right. Justin Jefferson is such an outlier for his position as far as what he brings from a personality standpoint.
Yeah.
From a not just not a locker room problem, but a locker room galvanizer. Like O'Connell says, hey, McCarthy's going to start. Why don't you show up for things that are voluntary and you've never shown up for before? And he's like, okay, cool. Yeah, absolutely. And he works his ass off. And when you look at all of those things, so one game in his prime, bang for my buck, I'm going Moss. But if you're asking me which one would I take, I think Justin Jefferson has put together not only such an impressive on-field performance in his first, 5 years or so, but also you can't dismiss what he does as sort of a captain of that team.
I would add this to the just a mathematical portion here, because some of where we rank receivers is based on numbers, right? Like
Sure.
Randy Moss, even with he changed the league. He took the top off defenses unlike any other receiver. You know what? He also finished fourth all time in receiving yards. So like there's a certain threshold that you have to be at to be considered among the best of all time.
Yep.
And to this point in Justin Jefferson's career, he just turned 26 years old. He's played 5 years. He averages over a 17-game season. He averages 1,641 yards per 17 games. So 1,600. If you tell me if I'm wrong on this, but from ages 26 through 30, so his age is 26 through 30 seasons. So 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, that's 5 seasons. If he averaged 1,400 yards per season over that 5-year stretch of prime, I think that might be conservative. But you got to account for, like, is there an injury season or something? Like, so we'll say if he gets to, so leaving room for, it might be 1,500 or 1,600, but let's call it 1,400 yards per year for 5 years. That'd be 7,000 additional yards from where he's at right now. He's at 7,400 career yards. So if he averaged 1,400 yards per season for 5 years, he'd be at 14,400 yards turning 31 years old, which would put him 10th on the all-time list, ahead of Reggie Wayne, Chris Carter, Anquan Bolden, Julio Jones, DeAndre Hopkins, Mike Evans, all these guys who are potentially either in the Hall of Fame or Hall of Fame bound. So that's like, it's pretty reasonable that by the time he turns 31, he will be top 10 on the all-time yardage list. Then once you turn 31, the question is, how much do you got left in the tank? Because Jerry Rice did it until he was like 40. Randy Moss, by the time he was 34, 35, was kind of cooked. His speed was gone, and he couldn't play anymore. So if he is currently like 14,000 yards behind Jerry Rice, do you think it's feasible that Justin Jefferson could play 12 more years until he's 37 years old?
I don't think I can say that.
Okay. Because he'd have to average about 1,300 yards a season until he's 37 years old to reach Jerry Rice.
I think removing even like the numbers, which I know what we're talking about, but the perspective of him. So a lot of fans I grew up with prime Randy Moss, and now this generation gets to grow up with prime Justin Jefferson. And although Moss, in my opinion, did a bigger job of changing the position and the game, Jefferson's universal love is way higher, in my opinion, than I think even the admiration and appreciation people gave to Randy Moss in those first Vikings years. So I think that's also super unique, and something we sometimes forget about is when those 12, 13-year-olds who are becoming sports fans, and we've been doing this for 20 years or so, you forget that that's their guy that they get to watch come up and they gravitate towards. So I think perspective-wise, it's actually a lot closer than we probably give it credit.
Where Moss was a little bit different, though, and this is hard to quantify, but when Randy came in 98, the Vikings fan base was like aging out. And I know that's hard to believe, but like I felt like a lot of people in their 20s didn't exactly live and die with the team. So it wasn't kids. It was like on the cusp of being adults who adopted the team. Those people are now my age, but like they became Vikings fans then. Mm-hmm. But like if we're just talking about from a football perspective, I don't think Justin Jefferson's ever going to get traded because he's such a pain in the ass the team can't tolerate him.
Right.
And that's what happened.
Yeah. Like you could kind of see with Diggs for a while, you could see like, oh, it seems like a pretty good affable guy, but he's a little odd. And then it started like, there's been none of that with Jefferson. Randy Moss almost from day one, and even the pre-draft process where it's like, he was going to go to Notre Dame and then got booted or whatever, like, or Florida State. It was Florida State, yeah.
Yeah, Florida State.
And you could tell pretty early, like, okay, this dude's got a really chippy personality. There's some maturity issues, but he's a legendary talent. And Jefferson, every step of the way, has been great in the community, great as a leader behind the scenes. Even when he had a contract dispute that lasted like 15 or 18 months, it stayed super low key. He's showing up for the, he's a veteran at this point. He's a Hall of Famer. Like, he doesn't have to be at all the voluntary OTA workouts, but he is, because it's J.J. McCarthy's first time being an NFL starting quarterback. Yeah.
Like, he takes it seriously. Moss, ordinarily receivers, it's partially because the position that they play is such a difficult one because you got no control of things. But ordinarily, receivers are 95% out for themselves.
Yeah.
Jefferson's not.
He's so joyful. He plays this happy, joyful style both on the field and behind the scenes. So one more thing on Rice, because Rice it does feel like an unbreakable record. He is 5,000 yards beyond the number 2 all-time yardage receiver. And it's because after the age of 33, when most guys are cooked and Randy Moss is playing on the Titans and the 49ers, right? Yes. Jerry Rice played like 9 more years after his age 33 season and racked up 607 catches for almost 8,000 yards and 50 touchdowns over that period.
Bounced around, though, too. I don't know, Jefferson. Like, that's a real commitment.
Yeah, he was with San Francisco until he was 38.
Yep.
And then it was 3 years in Oakland, and then was it
little Seattle time? Denver, was it? Like, he allowed himself to bounce around.
Yeah, he never played a game for Denver. There might have been like a training camp situation there when he was like 43. So part of it is like, what do you do after he's going to be amazing until he's 33. Yeah. What do you do from 34 to 43? That's where Rice racked up crazy numbers.
Like, that's a big commitment.
Because by then he would have banked $500 million or maybe more than that, But sometimes, I mean, he plays a style that it does feel like his style. I mean, you'll take some hits, but you're going to take fewer hits in today's NFL than Jerry Rice was subjected to. Jerry Rice was athletic enough and nimble enough to avoid the big hits, but you don't have safeties, head hunting. If you're a route runner and you're quick in small spaces, you could probably play a long time. But yeah, just a fun couple of Justin Jefferson legacy questions there that we can continue to check on throughout the years here. So your Saturday checkdown edition of Purple Daily, the sports dad, Declan, soon to be father, Declan. If you missed the breaking news on Friday's Feedback Friday episode, Phil, we just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die. We'll see you next time on Purple Daily.